Welcome to another edition of News Bites here on Daily World Television. My name is Kal Korff and I'm your host. WikiLeaks has announced that although it has released to the public nearly 9,000 documents on the CIA that allegedly were turned over to it by another Eric Snowden type figure, this would be a contractor to the CIA agency. They have announced that although this is nearly 9,000 documents, this represents only 1% of the total material that they have. Will WikiLeaks release the rest of it? They said that over time they will. So let's briefly recap now what we know the CIA was doing thanks to WikiLeaks. We now know that the CIA hacked millions of devices made by Samsung. This includes, of course, their ubiquitous smartphones and their TVs. What the CIA was able to do, and the actual code for the malware that does this is easily readable in the WikiLeaks documents. What they did is they launched malware viruses on public networks so that when Samsung users were online, they were infected without knowing it. Then as they watched television and supposedly turned off their TVs, although the light indicated that the TV was off, it really went into the record mode and it was able to send your conversations back to the CIA where spies were able to listen on it. Apple devices were not affected nearly as much as Samsung's was. This is due to the difference in security between the iOS system versus Android. But Apple has announced that every exploit that the CIA used was patched a long time ago. So when iPhones were affected, this was years ago, whereas Samsung continues to be affected. So word to the wise, if you use Samsung, you stand the risk of being hacked, and the code to hack you is now available in the public domain. The largest target of the CIA spying was Asia. This includes India and China, where the greatest number of Samsung devices are, of course, predictably sold because of their price ranges, which tend to be cheaper than, say, Apple products. So we now know that the CIA spied on everybody from Germany to French diplomats, including French President Nicolas Sarkozy, as well as Germany's present Chancellor Angela Merkel. And we also know that millions of ordinary people were spied on. Their gadgets, which are attached to what's called the Internet of Things, or IoT, this allowed the CIA to tap into these devices and listen to people from their own homes or workspaces or their automobiles, even as well as their phones. Another thing that was revealed in the WikiLeaks documents, which is quite fascinating, is that CIA agents stole Russian viruses that were used to hack the West. Once the CIA got the goods from Russia, they were able to launch so-called Russian attacks, framing the Russians, therefore rendering any digital fingerprint as being irrelevant. And this is interesting because the CIA maintains that Russia hacked the computers of the Democratic National Party. Well, it could have been the CIA. We don't know. With the United States now having the Russian tools to hack, they can frame Russia at will, and all the forensic analysis in the world will not be able to tell who really is the guilty party. This is reminiscent of when Israel made a breakthrough 2 years ago in the ability to fake planted DNA evidence to convict innocent people of crimes they never committed. If that technology were to enter the mainstream and be used by criminals or police to frame innocent people, then of course the court systems would be a nightmare and justice could never be delivered with any credibility at all. WikiLeaks has said that there's more documents coming shortly. The CIA has launched a manhunt for the traitor or the person who has committed treason against the United States, the so-called contractor or contractors who have leaked this material. In the meantime, the best advice to people who use Samsung products as well as Microsoft products, which are especially vulnerable, is to keep your security updates updated, but keep in mind that all of them have been cracked and they're not really secure by any true definition of this word. For Apple users, you're safer than any other mass manufacturer who makes these devices, but it's also not foolproof either. The general rule is to practice safe computing, make sure you have backups stored in the cloud, and make sure that you are fully in control of your data. If you're not, then an intelligence agency is going to be guaranteed.